Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good morning. This is Sri Primo here with a quick recap of the Border Gavaskar Trophy, the Sydney Test match. The Aussies not only defeated India by 6 wickets in the Sydney Test, but they've also punched their ticket to the World Test Championship to be played against South Africa in June in England at Lord's. So Australia, this was a game that was wrapped up in less than 3 days. In fact, by the second session of day 3. And Australia truly deserved this victory. Of course, Australia chasing 161 runs was lucky in the sense that India did not have Jasprit Bumrah, who could not bowl due to back spasms. But either way, all credit goes to Australia for not only winning this test match, but coming back from 1-0 down after they lost the first test at Perth, and then roaring back in the pink ball test, and then winning in Melbourne and in Sydney. So truly, Australia deserved it. Pat Cummings, their captain, led from the front, and they had excellent contributions from Travis Head, Steve Smith, and the bowlers especially came through. Boland came through big in this particular test match. He took 4 wickets in the first inning, took 6 in the second, so that's a 10 wicket for Boland, who was just incredible. The Indians did not have any answers to him. But coming back to the test, India managed to score a paltry 185 runs thanks to Rishabh Pant, who scored 40 runs, played much more subdued in the first inning. Not his natural game. And as I mentioned, Boland took 4, and then the Australian pacer attack pretty much took 9 wickets out of 10 in the first inning. And in the second inning, you had Bo Webster, who was making his debut and who did very impressively. He scored 57. He was the top scorer for the Aussies. And I do believe that he was the top scorer not only he was a top scorer for Aussies in both the innings. So great debut for Webster. Steve Smith chipped in with 30 runs, but India actually had a 4-run lead going into the second inning, and it did seem that any chase over 200 would have been very difficult on this pitch. Of course, we'll get to that later because India did not have one of the greatest bowlers right now. He's proving himself to be the best bowler in the world. Jasprit Bumrah, who was also the captain because Rohit Sharma was dropped for this particular test. So in the second inning, you could see Pant really took it to Australian bowlers, hit a rapid 61 of 33 balls, 6 fours, and 4 sixers. He really took it to the Australian bowling attack, but the rest of the Indian batsmen failed to cross even 25 runs, and India completely collapsed for 157 runs, leaving Australia it was 162 runs to win. Now in the second inning, Australians started off like they played. I think that was their plan going in, to take on the Indian bowling attack without Jasprit Bumrah. So they scored a quick fire 39 runs in less than 4 overs. That really set the stage for them, despite them losing 3 wickets by 58 runs. Within like a matter of 19 runs, they lost 3 wickets. Prasidh Krishna, who got all the 3 wickets. But then by the time Usman Khawaja was out past the 100 mark, Australia had less than 60 runs to score, and Travis Head and Bo Webster really played an amazing partnership. They not only had a 58-run partnership, but they scored in rapid succession, and Australia romped home 27 overs. It's almost like a one-day international score, but that was their plan going in. They knew that Jasprit Singh Bumrah was not available, so they had to take advantage of that with inexperience in the Indian side, with Prasidh Krishna, who was actually bowling. This is only his 3rd or 4th test. Nitish Kumar Reddy, who's also bowling, who's more like a batsman than a bowler. So India definitely only had 2. I mean, even Siraj was very expensive, 12 over 69 runs. I mean, he gave his best, but Siraj is usually good when you have a bowler in the caliber of Jasprit Singh Bumrah. That would be Um, that's a great combination for India when both of them bowl well. I think there are a lot of questions need to be asked by India in this particular test match. The selection committee, the coach, the captain, even though it was Jasprit Singh Bumrah, but I do know that Rohit Sharma, the presence of Rohit Sharma being there, even though he was not on the field as a captain, he was visible throughout this match. But the approach that India took, they especially when they saw the pitch, I think they should have gone with more pace attack than spinners. That would mean like dropping a Jadeja or Washington Sundar. Would be disastrous considering that both of them have done good work with the bat. And at least, I mean, both of them, in fact, Jadeja had 13 plus runs, and then in the first inning was 26. So when I look at it, they were probably missing some runs, about close to like 75 runs between both the players, but you have to go with a pace attack and rest one of the spinners. And I think that's where the selection committee and the captain needs to take accountability, and the coach need to take accountability for going in not with a great plan, especially when all they had to do was win this test match, and that would mean the Border Gavaskar Trophy would stay with India. Right now, Australia, after almost 10 years, has captured it. They truly deserved it because they did play to win this game in different parts. I mean, every time with their backs to the wall, like even the last test match in Melbourne test match, the last wicket pair of Boland and Lyon scored 60 runs, which that really cost India the match. India would have had a chance to, I wouldn't say to win the game because they were down by 115 runs going in, but Australia were at 1.99 for six in the Melbourne test, and they ended up giving India a huge target to chase, and India could not muster that. And I think that goes down to the way India attacked the Australian tail end batsman with the ball, and that really cost them that. I mean, at least there would have been a draw in the test. But I really think that apart from the first test, Australia thoroughly outplayed India in pretty much every department, both in the batting, fielding. India did drop a lot of catches, especially in the last test. At this test, they were much better, but I do think that, and again, there's thing to be had, especially on senior players, which is what we do with Rohit Sharma and Kohli. In fact, the fact that Rohit came out and clearly said in the interview that he's not going anywhere. What does that mean? I mean, does it mean that he will get to go and play more in the domestic cricket, get his form right, and come back? Like India seriously need to look in the mirror to figure out the right combination, especially when going and playing in Australia. And if you look at what India has done in the last 8 tests, they've only won one test match, which was the Perth test match. They've lost six and drawn one, which was also in Australia. They lost to New Zealand at home 3-0, and they've lost 3-1 to Australia. And that's not saying much, especially for a team that was knocking on the door to qualify for the World Test Championship. They had the World Test Championship by their hand and let it slip away. Kudos to South Africa, who played it amazing. In the last few months, they've played really good against a lot of good teams, and they deservedly so will play in the World Test Championship against Australia. And when you ask me to predict who would win it, I think I would put my money right now on Australia. I mean, that's the way they are. They claw, they fight through, they go with a plan, they go with a strategy, and they have probably one of the best captains for any Test cricket right now, which is Pat Cummins, who's just phenomenal, leads from the front. He took a lot of very critical wickets in this series. Even with the bat, he was amazing in terms of when the wickets were falling across him, especially as last test match against Melbourne, 99 for 6. And he made sure that he took Australia to a place where they would not lose. And that's what the captain truly does. I feel that Australia has the momentum going into that. I mean, I know there's a long time between now and the championship, but I believe that they are the best team right now. And I think they have people coming in. Constas has definitely been a great find for them. Bo Webster, who was making his debut at 31, seems to be a very good player who could be sticking. I think Mitchell Marsh may have lost his place in the side to Webster. So, and I think that's where they are. And for India, a lot of questions. Will Gautam Gambhir stay as the coach? Remains to be seen. Will Rohit Sharma and Kohli step away? Doesn't seem so. But right now, India is going to go to England to play some T20 series, so it's going to be a completely different side playing there. And looks like both Kohli, Bumrah, and Rohit won't be there. So it's a completely different Indian team for the T20. It's a different format of cricket. So I think when the next test match comes through, that's where we'd see the makeup of the side. And India really need to prepare youngsters to take on. I think it may be okay if we can go 2 or 3 years for almost like a rebuild phase at this point. The veterans have done their part. Give them credit for what they've done. But at this time, whether it's a Rohit Sharma, Kohli, Gill, KL Rahul, their place on the side should be questioned at this point. And that's where we are with Indian cricket at this point. Now, they came up, they were in a high going into the New Zealand series, and they were not able to get to the World Test Championship. So the Indian Test cricket is at doldrums at this point, and serious questions need to be asked. And maybe the entire selection committee needs to be looked into as well. I mean, they've not done a good job of picking the right side against New Zealand and Australia. So with that, we wrap up the Border Gavaskar Trophy. It's been a fun to do the previews and recaps after every test match, but wanted to give credit where it's due, which is Australia is sailing through the World Test Championship. An unbelievable performance by Cummins, Head, Steve Smith, and Stark and Boland and all these players who really rose their game to a next level. They really took their game to the next level. So that's where we are. Thanks again for listening, guys. I really appreciate the support. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.